If you're trying to unlock everything in Slay the Spire 2, get ready to embrace the chaos, because almost all progression is tied to randomized runs. Sometimes you'll get lucky and walk away with shiny new relics or fresh cards added to your compendium, and other times, well, the Spire just laughs at you. But when it comes to unlocking new characters, things are actually pretty straightforward. There's no secret requirement, no hidden objective, you just need to complete a run with the previous character to unlock the next one. That's exactly how you unlock the Defect, the final character, after finishing your first run with the Necrobinder. It doesn't matter how far you go or how well you perform, the moment that run is done, the Defect is yours. And trust me, once you unlock it, you're gonna want to know how to use it properly. So in this beginner's guide, we're breaking down how to get started with the Defect and make your early runs way smoother. Let's jump in. I'm quickly moving on to the video. Before we start, if you enjoy these types of list videos, don't forget to like the video and subscribe. Enjoy watching. Playing the Defect in Slay the Spire 2 can feel overwhelming at first, especially if you are coming from a more straightforward character like the Ironclad. Suddenly, you are not just attacking and defending, you are managing floating orbs above your head like some kind of magical engineer, and that is exactly the mindset you need. The Defect is not about brute force, it is about control, timing, and understanding how your orbs work together over multiple turns. Let's talk about those orbs because they are everything. By default, you start combat with 3 orb slots, and each slot can hold 1 orb. As you play certain cards, you will channel new orbs, pushing older ones forward. When an orb leaves the front slot, it gets evoked, which triggers a stronger effect. If you never evoke them, they still activate their passive ability at the end of every turn. So you are constantly deciding, do I let this orb sit and generate value, or do I push it out for a burst effect? Lightning orbs are your bread and butter early on. At the end of each turn, a lightning orb deals damage to a random enemy. It is simple, reliable, and great for clearing weaker fights. When evoked, it deals a larger amount of damage to a specific target. That means stacking lightning can slowly chip enemies down while you focus on blocking. It is not flashy, but it is consistent, and consistency wins runs. Frost orbs are where the Defect starts to feel safe. Every turn, Frost gives you block automatically. When evoked, it gives an even larger amount of block instantly. If you are struggling to survive, prioritizing Frost generation can completely change your run. Multiple Frost orbs sitting in your slots can create a defensive engine that protects you while your other orbs do the damage. Think of Frost as your shield generator. Dark orbs are more about patience and planning. At the end of each turn, a dark orb gains more damage. It just keeps charging up. When you finally evoke it, it deals all of that stored damage to a target enemy. This makes dark orbs amazing for boss fights or elite encounters where battles last longer. The trick is not to evoke them too early. Let them grow, defend yourself, and then release a massive hit when the timing is right. Glass orbs are more aggressive but temporary. They start with 3 stacks and deal damage equal to their stack amount to all enemies at the end of each turn. However, they lose 1 stack each turn. That means they are strongest right when you create them. Glass orbs are perfect for quickly clearing multiple enemies, but you need to understand that their power fades fast. Use them to control the pace of the fight early. Finally, plasma orbs are all about energy. At the end of each turn, they give you 1 extra energy. When evoked, they instantly give you 2 energy. In a game where energy is everything, plasma can enable huge turns with multiple high-cost cards. If you ever feel like your hand is strong, but you cannot afford to play it all, plasma is the solution. Mastering the Defect is really about learning when to build a passive engine and when to cash everything in for 1 explosive turn. Once you understand that rhythm, the character stops feeling complicated and starts feeling incredibly powerful. One of the biggest mindset shifts with the Defect in Slay the Spire 2 is realizing that constantly evoking your orbs is not always the smartest play. Yes, evoking gives you that satisfying burst of damage or block, but in many situations, stacking more orbs is actually stronger. When your orb slots are full and you channel a new orb, the rightmost orb is automatically evoked to make space. This means you can keep building pressure simply by adding more orbs, letting their passive effects stack up turn after turn instead of cashing them in too early. That said, you still need to pay attention to positioning. If you have a dark orb sitting on the right side that has been charging for several turns, you probably do not want to push it out before it reaches its full potential. Dark needs time to grow, and forcing it out too soon wastes its value. But in the early game especially, flooding your slots with lightning or frost and letting the overflow mechanic handle evoking naturally is often more efficient than manually trying to trigger everything. Think long-term value over short-term bursts, and your runs will feel much smoother. If you really want to make the Defect feel powerful in Slay the Spire 2, you need to understand one word: focus. While other characters depend heavily on things like strength or applying vulnerable to increase damage, the Defect plays by different rules. Focus directly boosts the effectiveness of your orbs, which means it scales your entire engine at once. Instead of improving one attack card, you are upgrading every orb you have in play. Here is why that matters. Every single point of focus increases the damage of all damage-dealing orbs, such as lightning, by 1. That might not sound huge at first, but when you have multiple lightning orbs triggering every turn, the value adds up very quickly. The same goes for frost. Each point of focus gives you extra block from both the passive effect and the evoke effect of frost orbs. Suddenly, your defensive setup becomes significantly stronger without adding more cards to your deck. This is why building around focus is so important. The Defect does not rely on traditional attack scaling the way other characters do, and strength does not synergize nearly as well with orb-based strategies. If your deck is centered around orbs, focus becomes your primary scaling tool. The more focus you stack, the more damage and defense you generate automatically every single turn. Once you experience a run where your orbs are supercharged by high focus, you will understand why it is one of the most important mechanics in the Defect Beginner's Guide. The Defect in Slay the Spire 2 truly shines in the late game, but getting there is the real challenge. This character depends heavily on synergy. You are not just picking strong standalone cards, you are building an engine where orbs, focus, and scaling all work together. Because of that, the early game can feel rough. You will not always have the pieces you need yet, so your priority in Act 1 should simply be survival. Do not worry about building the perfect combo right away. Worry about staying alive long enough to assemble it. If your health points are low and you reach a rest site, do not be afraid to heal instead of upgrading. A dead run does not scale. Try to choose map paths with fewer enemy battles if your deck is still weak, and lean into unknown rooms for safer opportunities. Once you reach the second act and your deck starts to stabilize, you can take on more combat encounters to secure better rewards. Think of the first act as laying the foundation and the later acts as where your engine finally comes online. The video ends here. See you in another video. Don't forget to subscribe.